We know that page speed is rocking on the homepage, but what about the other pages? Well, on the social, it's 100 for the mobile, it's 100 for the about page, and it's 100 for the contact. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, but you have very little content on them. That's besides the point. The main thing is that by doing some of the page speed performance things that I did right at the beginning with the code snippets as well, we're keeping on top of it. And remember, build your page, check the mobile responsiveness, and then go and check your score. And if the score goes down, try and address it. We're now going to expand on the website and imagine that we're going to sell some products as well. So we got our pages, we got our blog post, but now we want to sell some hiking bags, backpacks, rucksacks, things like that. So let's go and install WooCommerce, payment gateways, and let's go through some of the settings. Now, if you're very familiar with WooCommerce, you might want to skip some of the steps, but go and look at the timestamp. But if you're new to WooCommerce, I think you're going to find everything we do here very, very useful. Go over to plugins, add plugins, and do a search for WooCommerce, and then we will install that. Now, when it comes to payment gateways, you are going to have to install something like Stripe or PayPal, or there are other options as well. So when we get to that stage, I will revisit the plugins page as well, because when you're using Stripe, you install a different plugin to the one that you would do for PayPal, but I'll cover that off later on. Now, once you've installed it, you will come to a wizard screen, and this is where you just got to fill in a few details. I would leave this box unchecked because sometimes I'm not really bothered or interested in half the things you're going to get from WooCommerce. Now, a lot of the options you get here do not make or break your store, okay? Because everything we're going to do, we're going to build manually. So don't expect that if I go and click this, my WooCommerce store is going to function in a completely different way. You can hit other, you can tick one of these, it's up to you. Now, this screen is a little bit important. We're going to be selling physical products. We could also sell downloads, which we will do when we eventually get onto the LMS or the courses bit. Now, if you're going to let people access your website via a subscription or a membership model, you can use a facility provided by WooCommerce, but it's going to cost you X amount per month. Now, there are other plugins you could use like Paid Membership Pro for subscriptions or even memberships. It's a free plugin, even though it's called Paid Membership Pro, and the stuff you get for free will be more than enough for you. However, they do have a premium version as well where you get extra features. But if you did want to go down a subscription or a membership route, consider Paid Membership Pro. Again, there's some options here about how many products are you selling, are you selling them elsewhere. Again, this does not make or break what you're going to be doing with WooCommerce. It really doesn't. WooCommerce very nicely does give you some extra business features. Now, before you go and hit continue, I would recommend you expand on this and you do uncheck some items. So many people will look at this, enhance speed and security with Jetpack, and they leave it. I recommend you untick it, because this can be problematic when you are using Elementor websites and other page builders as well. Sometimes there's a little bit of incompatibility or conflict. Please remove it. You don't need it, seriously. I'm also going to get rid of MailPoet because maybe I might use my own email mailing subscription list with MailChimp, MailerLite, ActiveCampaign. You can go with MailPoet, but don't just go with what anyone gives you. Research and check what is the best solution for you. I'm going to get rid of the Google listings and ads, and I'm going to get rid of TikTok for WooCommerce. Now, we are going to be doing SEO later on, so a lot of these items I've unticked, you're going to try and influence your own way. I'm just trying to reduce the amount of extra plugins that we're going to be adding onto your system. Now, WooCommerce does, in a kind of a nice way, then say, well, do you now want to use one of our themes? One of the most common ones that people use is Storefront over here. And they go and change and modify things like the cover art or the hero banner and some of the images, obviously. But if you go and pick one of these, you are in effect going to be undoing a lot of what we've already done with the Hello theme. Now, you can reverse engineer and get things to be back where they were. But if you're just building a shop website with no blog and no landing page, these are a great way to start. I, on the other hand, I'm going to continue using our Hello theme because I like to have control over what we're building, and I don't want to add in any extra bloat where I then spend more time trying to undo things. Don't start adding in your products yet. Go and now revisit your plugins to see what else has been installed, because I did leave some of those tick boxes ticked, and go through the WooCommerce settings. It's always good to get your settings right before you start adding in extra items. So when we now go over to our plugins, you'll notice we have extra ones. I mean, we've got a duplicate page that I was using for the blog post. Eventually, I'm going to deactivate and remove that. We also have pinned interest for WooCommerce. This is where you're going to allow people to find your products. Now, we are going to be addressing a lot of how people can find your products with SEO. So do I really need this plugin? I'm going to say no, deactivate it, and I will be deleting any that I deactivate later on. We have WooCommerce. We also have WooCommerce Payments. We have WooCommerce Shipping and Tax. The benefits of it is it's an automated tax calculation. Now, this does depend on where are you selling in the world. If you're only selling in the UK, you'll know what the tax rate is, 20% VAT, if you are VAT registered. If you're selling in America, you might have different tax rates for different regions maybe. But if you're planning to sell across the world, having an automated solution like this could be really helpful for you. I'm going to assume that we're only selling in the UK. So again, I'm going to deactivate this plugin. I've intentionally brought them over because what happens is when I look at some websites that people have built and they got WooCommerce, they've gone and left everything ticked and they've got loads of items in there. They're not utilizing or using nearly all of them, but you're adding in bloat into your WordPress website. Also, plugins are usually loaded with JS, JavaScript. This is extra bloat that is going to slow down your website. Only have here what you know you're going to be using every day. So at the moment, we have 9 plugins. And remember, 2 of them are for WP Grid Builder, which we're using for the filtering system, but we still only have 9 plugins. Again, keep it lean and mean. Let's now go over to the left-hand side to where we have WooCommerce on our dashboard. And it does say number 6 next door to home, but that's just like the initial page where it's now saying, well, you got to do this, you got to add your products, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I will not go through every single step on here because you don't need to. This kind of talks you through, but you don't need to go through it systematically how it is. You can just follow what I'm going to show you. The key bit, though, is the settings down here. Let's go and click that. And there's a lot of tabs here, and we are going to go through them very quickly. The general one, this is where you go and pop in your address, which we did with the wizard already. Where are you going to sell to? So I'm going to say we're only selling to the United Kingdom. You can add in additional countries here, like that. Where will you ship to? Again, you may only ship to specific countries. Now, let's say someone was buying a product from Japan. Not only can they not buy it, but it can't even be shipped to them. So someone can't buy it from the UK and then ship to Japan. Are we going to enable taxes? Yes. Now, did you notice I removed the WooCommerce shipping and tax plugin? But that's the automated solution. You can still calculate them manually if you're only selling to specific countries with this setting here. So again, enable it, but save yourself the automated plugin. And then at the bottom, we have the currency options. Now, mine is already defaulted to pound sterling. You could go in and start to pick an alternate one if it was relevant. We're going to have the currency on the left. We're going to have ... number of decimals too. I am fine with that. And then I'm going to hit save changes. Now, there are many tabs. We are going to go through them all one by one. Let's now go to the product tab. What will be the name of our shop page? Now, I am going to show you the pages once we've gone through this. Because when you install WooCommerce, it goes and adds in lots of extra pages. So this is already defaulting to the shop. But if you didn't want it to go there, you could, if you want, scroll down and go, actually, I'm going to go for maybe the About page. It will be my shop, which makes no sense, but maybe it was. You're going to put your shop products widget over there. Now you will notice, and you must have seen it. We have the word cart twice, checkout twice, and my account twice. Sometimes WooCommerce does that. We will go in and we will remove any duplicates that appeared, so please don't worry about that. This is quite important with add to cart. When you add a product to the cart, do you want to jump straight to the cart page? This is only useful if you're selling one or maybe 2 products, and you know that someone will either buy X or Y. They're probably not going to buy both. Whereas if you're selling multiple products like many bags or t-shirts or jeans, you want someone to add the jeans, I'll add that t-shirt as well, and I'll have those sandals or a bag as well. So add to cart or redirect to cart is useful when you're only selling 1 or 2 very specialized products. Otherwise, leave that unticked. Are you going to enable your users or purchasers to leave reviews? This isn't a bad thing to do if you're trying to gain confidence or trust in what you're selling. If you're not bothered about product reviews, because you've got to consider moderation and double checking that people aren't putting fake reviews in, I would disable that. Now we'll go to the tax tab. Remember, because we've enabled it. To keep things easier, you could just put the prices of the products on with the tax included, as long as you then calculate it for your own tax purposes. You could do that. Or you could say it is exclusive of tax. So let's say something was £100. And then you'll have the tax, which is an extra £20 for 20%. And it will show that in the cart and the checkout. Settings here are pretty self-explanatory in, are you going to calculate the tax on the shipping address? Well, because they're buying from the UK, that's pretty standard. However, if you are now selling globally, you're going to have a different tax rate for America as opposed to the UK, as opposed to Australia, etc. So this can be really useful for you. For simplicity, I'm going to say that my prices already includes the tax there. Again, just go and hit save changes. Now let's go to shipping. This is kind of the fun one and the one that sometimes scares people a bit, because when you go here, you have this different colored screen and it just says add shipping zone. And you go, I just want to add shipping. In fact, I want to have free shipping, or I'm going to charge $2.99 for shipping. What is a shipping zone? Just click it and follow the steps. UK shipping. And the region for this will be the United Kingdom. It brings it through because we'd set that to where we were selling. If we were selling in multiple areas or multiple regions, you can even do it by a continent as well. So if I was to go and type in Europe, it will bring it up there. So you don't have to go, for instance, if you were selling in Africa, you wouldn't have to go through and put every African country in. You could just put Africa in as a continent. Then scroll down and click the add shipping method. You have options here. Are you going to have a flat rate? Are you going to have free shipping? Are you going to have a local pickup? Maybe you work from home, so people have to come to you to, once they've purchased, they have to come to pick up the items. So you have that. We're just going to go for a flat rate. I'm going to hit add shipping method, and then I'm going to edit it. I'm going to ensure that this is not taxable because our prices will already include the tax. And I'm going to set the cost to be $2.99 like that and save changes. There may be some products I sell whereby there is free shipping. So let's go and hit that. Go and pick free shipping, hit add shipping method, go to edit, and then I'm going to enable the condition for when it actually kicks in. So sorry, I didn't mean per product. When does this actually kick in? So I'm going to say you must have a minimum order amount of £50. So once you hit £50 and above, the free shipping kicks in. $2.99 for anything below that. And we will then hit save changes. So now we have those 2 rates there. Now let's go over to payments. During the wizard, the WooCommerce payments plugin was already added. Now don't be fooled by that because that is actually Stripe. So if you don't intend to use Stripe and you're going to use PayPal, you might want to get rid of that. That being said, it is a really handy plugin to use if you want people to be able to buy using their debit or credit card. So they haven't got a PayPal account, they haven't got a Stripe account, they can actually just put in their actual card details and buy an item. Most WooCommerce stores that I work with tend to have WooCommerce payments and the PayPal widget, which we will add on in a moment. So let's just scroll down over here. It does say get started, but before we do that, I want to show you that we have WooCommerce payments, so credit card, debit card, etc. We have direct bank transfer. If you enable that, whenever anyone buys anything, they will then have like details for how do they now pay you. So you would put in your business sort code or account number. They might buy an item. It will say the item is now being processed, but it will not allow the item to be completed. The item can't be completed until they have made a payment. You would then have to manually come into here and say, right, I have received the payment. WooCommerce ain't going to know if the payment landed in your bank account. So once you know you got it, you will go here and you will say order complete. Then the item is now ready to be shipped, depending on how you do that, or the customer will get a notification as well to say, yep, the order is now completed. And if it was a virtual or a downloadable product, they can now access it. Very few times have I worked with anyone where they like to enable this. Most people like to go through an electronic payment gateway. And the same applies to check payments and cash on delivery. So until you go back in here and hit completed, it will always be seen to be an order that is still being payment processing. When you enable the WooCommerce payments with the toggle, it will take you over here. First thing we're going to do is hit finish setup, and then you'll be sent over to this new page which opens up called WooCommerce payments. Now this is where I feel like there's a little bit of trickery going on here. This is going to connect you with Stripe. If you already have a Stripe account, make sure you don't go and start sticking in a different email address. Go and use the one you normally use with Stripe. If you're not using Stripe, then go and enter in your email address. You'll then get an email where you then have to click connect. And lo and behold, we're now on another screen where what will happen is you'll enter in your email address, or if you've already got on with Stripe, and you can see here now it says powered by Stripe. And you'll either set up a brand new account or log in, and then you'll follow the steps it gives you just to make sure it is now connected back to your website. It is actually really pain-free to do this, but I do want to offer one little bit of advice. If you're keen to get your shop online as quick as possible, go and set up your Stripe account or go through the steps here via WooCommerce on your WordPress at least 7 to 8 days before you intend to start selling. Because when you first connect to Stripe, they are more than likely going to say, okay, if you're setting up as a business, we now need some business verification from you. So they might need copies of some documents or photographs that show what your company registry number is. It can take 6 to 7 days for that to fully properly turn around. So don't delay and get on connecting and get this process started. Now, when you are setting up, it is very important that you put the right URL in here. So if you're using a staging site or a subdomain or anything like that, get that done now. You can alter this later on, but save yourself the hassle and get the right URL in from the get-go. And although it might have come across as complicated, it is a very simple process. Now, I mentioned about if you set up as a business, it can take 6 to 7 days, maybe even a little longer if you're not careful. But when you connect, you have the option to decide if you are an individual or a sole trader. If you do that, and you put your bank sort code and account number in, it basically just connects you up. So I'm not advising you to go and set up as an individual if you are a business, but if you want to get it done really quickly, that's what you would do. And now we're back in WordPress. It puts you back in there. You don't have to go there. It takes you back. And now our store has been verified. Let's go back to payments and we can see that it is now ticked. So this is now enabled. One of the nice things about the WooCommerce payment is that since it first came out, it has grown. So if you now want to enable other options like GiroPay, you can click it. You do also have the option for Apple Pay and Google Pay. So again, that's another neat feature. So people can come on, they can pay directly with their debit card or credit card. They can use Apple or Google Pay as well. And you can also add on some further details like what will appear when they purchase something. So I'm actually going to change this to be our hike. This is where you would pop in your email address and your phone number. So something like info@ourhike.com. But the thing that is blatantly missing here is PayPal. To enable that, you have to install another plugin. So let's just go over here to all payment methods. And you see the option for discover other payment providers. Let's go and click that. By the way, you don't have to go down this route. Okay, it's far easier for you just to go into your plugins, add plugin, and just go and get it from there. But I want to show you what is available to you. So here's a range of, let me close that. In fact, this is quite a good thing as well. I know in some geographical locations, PayPal is not allowed for you. So if you wanted to go into here and typed in India, it will now show you what is available. You got Square, you got PayPal, Peach Pay, Amazon Pay, etc. Now, if you click this, what will happen is it will now download the plugin to your downloads folder, and then you have to go and import it. It's far easier for you to just go back over to your WordPress website, go to plugins, add new, type in WooCommerce PayPal, Here it is. Even though it says 2 stars, don't be put off by that, okay? Because some of that is just down to how people have installed it. I have had 0 issues with this plugin. Hit install and activate. And when you go back over to WooCommerce Settings Payments, you'll see an option over here which is connect your account. If you don't see that, go over to all payment methods and you will see it here as well where it says PayPal. And you have the toggle there and finish setup. So if I just go and activate that, it brings you to this page, which is where you would have ended up anyway if you clicked connect your account. So I'm just showing you multiple ways of how to get here. Now, we already are accepting credit and debit cards via the Stripe account, so I would not tick this. Just go for enable PayPal payments. We're going to click activate PayPal, enter in your PayPal account and log in. Decide if this is going to be for personal use or a business. Now, I must stress again, if you are a business, don't try and cheat or anything and go, well, I'm just going to go with personal. Stay safe. So I'm now going to connect this website to my personal PayPal account. Then go back to WooCommerce. Even though that is all done, you need to go back into WooCommerce Settings Payments, click all payment methods and make sure it is definitely enabled. Just because you've gone through the motions, make sure it's enabled. And there you go. We've done the Stripe and the PayPal. It might feel long-winded, but it's not that difficult. And you can easily do this within 5 to 10 minutes. Now, if we go to the Accounts and Privacy tab of WooCommerce Settings, this is where you get to decide on, can people buy an item without having to create an account? Not recommended. It's always a good idea to make them do that. Number 1 for returning, but number 2, if they ever say, well, what did I pay for and how much did I pay? They can log in and they'll see their account details. So I'm going to get rid of the guest checkout and I'm going to say customers can create an account during checkout or on the My Account page as well. Then go to the Emails tab and you can now manage, well, where are the emails going? Are they going to go to you or are they going to go to the customer? So for a new order, you probably want it to come to you, but where the customer has made an order, they would probably need to have details come back to them. To be honest, you don't really need to change any of this, but you might want to change the email address or you might want to change what is the standard color. So when they get an email, what is it going to be? The standard color for WooCommerce is this purple plummy color, which doesn't look great if you're trying to do a bit of branding on your website, so that when you get an email at the top, it will have this color. If you want to be really specific though about the content inside of the email, go and hit manage and now you can start to modify what is actually said within there. In the advanced tab is where you now get to define, well, what are the pages for the cart and the checkout. So we can see here that if I go to cart, if I was to type in cart, you'll notice there are 2 items over here. Now, I am going to make a note of the pages there because sometimes, like I said, WooCommerce goes and installs it in twice. You do also have to add in a terms and conditions. I've seen websites where they don't have that. You're setting yourself up for a fail. So go and create a terms and condition page, very similar to what we did before with the privacy policy or the cookies policy. And once you've done that, go and enable it. I've just created one on the fly. It's actually just a copy of the cookie page. You can see the word cookies there, but this is the terms and conditions page. If I now click this arrow and I type in terms or even term, you'll now see that new page there. So I'm just going to click that and that is now enabled. You don't need to really modify anything else that you see on this page. I would leave this as it is and just hit save changes. Now, if you are going to start connecting to like fulfillment centers whereby someone buys the product and then the details go off to someone else in the world, a company who are going to handle the distribution, packaging, delivery, anything like that, you may need to go through one of these over here and they will usually advise of where you need to put it, or there'll be some instructions where you need to put in an API key. You would go over here and you would enter in those details, but it all depends on the solution you're using. So we're not going to cover that here because it is very dependable on third parties and they will know where to put it. So they'll instruct you on what to do. In the multi-currency tab is where you can enable other currencies. Now, we've said you can only buy or sell items to anyone based in the United Kingdom. So I've gone and put pound sterling. But what if you want to allow them to also use euros as well? Or even dollars, because they may be in the country, but they're currently using dollars from their bank account. So I'm going to enable the euro and the United States dollar as well. And I'm going to hit save changes. Now, if you go back to WooCommerce, it is still going to say that you might have 3 or 4 items you still need to do. This annoys me because we're going to do everything in a very bespoke way. So I sometimes just like to click one of the items, it goes and adds in a plugin, and then I'm going to remove it just to get rid of that really annoying number. Add tax rates, let's just get rid of that as well. And the final one is add product. This will disappear eventually. It's gone and added the Pinterest one again because I picked it to kind of get rid of that number, and I'm now going to deactivate and remove it. I'm one of those people where I only like to have notifications of anything that I really need to be notified about. That was the WooCommerce setup or the settings, and there's quite a lot there, but if you go through it methodically, you will be absolutely fine. Now let's go and add in some products. Now the things you really should be considering are the title of your products, the description of your products. Is there going to be any variation? So it might be you have a rucksack, but you have 3 different colors or sizes or a mixture of the same bag. So think about that. Think about your costings. Do you know how much of each item you have? So do you have 10 of this bag and 5 of that bag? Are you going to manage that as well in terms of the stock inventory? Think about the prices. So is the red bag more expensive than the blue bag? But most of all, think about your images. Let's go over to the media library where I brought through the images earlier. Now, once you've installed WooCommerce, it will give you some dummy images over here. Don't worry, we're going to get rid of them later on. These are just for like example product placeholders. When you scroll down, you're going to see I've already added in some bags. Each one of these is a 500 by 500 pixel image. And you will notice that the bags are kind of all relatively in the same position. I've used Canva and I have centralized them in a certain area, but the entire size of this, if I just show you here, if I just hit the crop button, can you see there's almost good spacing all the way around that? Let's just hit cancel. I also have some products where I have variation. We've got a purple bag, we've got an orange bag, and a red bag. They are the exact same bag. I just have different colors applied to them. Again, I did that via Canva using one of their edit color features. Really cool. And I bet that's what lots of people probably do on shopping websites anyway. Consistency in your images is really, really important. Because if you have some images and you can see the curtain behind one, or a sofa, or someone's leg, it does not look professional. And if some of your images were different sizes, let's say this was half the size of this image, even though in reality this is probably double the size of this bag, by making them look consistent when you're viewing them on a page, it looks much cleaner. Whereas if you had a bag that was like that and another bag that was like that, but you haven't standardized the sizes, it's going to start to look like you're in a garden where you have different sized plants. You want everything to almost appear equal. Let's go and add in our first product. We're going to go to products and we are going to click add new. Once you start adding in here, you can do things on the fly. You can create product categories as you go along. My big recommendation, like I said earlier, is nail down what are your products, what are the attributes and things like that. Create them first so that when you come to build, you now pick from a select list. Whereas if you do it on the fly, and sometimes you have to do it on the fly, you might end up making errors or issues, and human error does creep in at this point. Let's go over to categories. I'm going to type in rucksack. I'm going to type in backpack. Now you will notice we already have clothing, hoodies, and uncategorized. I'm going to get rid of the hoodies one because we don't need it. And I'm also going to get rid of the clothing as well. Now, if you decide you're going to break the backpack down even further, I could go over here and say, we'll add in another name and I'll go and put shoulder for like a shoulder backpack, if that even makes sense. And I'm going to say the parent category is the backpack like that. I could add in an image as well for any of the categories, which I'm not really bothered about. And I'm going to click add new category and it's underneath the backpack. I'm actually going to get rid of that just for simplicity where we're just going to have 3 categories. Next, we're going to go and do the attributes. Now we're only going to do this for the bag where we had 3 different colors. If we were also selling clothes with extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, and things like that, we could add those attributes as well. We could also add attributes for the type. So it might be that the category is going to be a bracelet, but it might be different types of bracelets or different types of hats, but you don't want it to be a subcategory. The attributes are really, really powerful because if you're going to have a different price for the different attribute, you really want to be utilizing this. But we're going to use it very simply for the color. Now, WooCommerce has already installed it for us and it's using the American spelling at the moment. I'm actually going to delete this and I'm going to start from a new. I'm going to type in color, then hit return, and that will now be added. Then I'm going to hit configure terms. So the first term we're going to go for is red. Let's add that. Let's go and add in purple as well. And we'll add in orange. Now we're ready to start building our products.